Hello, everybody. Welcome to Callagy Law Practice Mastery Webinar 2.
What's going on, folks? This is Sean Callagy with my dear friend Greg DiPietro and a whole bunch of other great team members sitting in the room who definitely do not want me calling their name and talking into the webinar, but we'll see what we do with that in a little bit. So what's going on here, pal?
Well, we have another awesome webinar, and Practice Mastery Webinar 2 is the 4 steps to influence mastery.
All right. And so today we're going to be talking a ton about how to go from yes or go from idea to yes. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. So let's keep going.
Gotcha. So what is practice mastery?
Yeah, before we get into that, practice mastery is taking your ideal practice and turning your dreams into reality. Now, that sounds like utterly ridiculous because it sounds like complete hyperbole, right? And hype. And it's not, because at one point in time, we have a 110-person law firm here at Callagy Law. You know, that's interesting. It's bigger than most firms, certainly folks that are in the healthcare recovery space, certainly firms that do personal injury for the most part. So what? But at one point, like Google was somebody's dream. At one point, Airbnb was somebody's dream. At one point, Twitter. At one point, Apple, Microsoft, all these different companies. So when we talk about turning dreams into reality, there's really a process, a system for having an idea and moving it forward to creating something that you want to create. So practice mastery is based on me studying these principles for 20 years, having spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on coaching, including $100,000 this year. That's a very real number, which I've never stopped doing. I'm also a certified coach. I've read hundreds of books. I relentlessly listen to audio programs, and I get tons of advice, and I've made a zillion mistakes. And so this is the idea of how do you take the ideal, the dream that you have for your practice, and bring it more and more into reality. Now, so it's not we're not overly committing. Obviously, we're never going to create the perfect situation where we have no stress, no worry completely. But the ability that we have to create more revenue, more patience, more fun, more excitement, more enthusiasm in our practices, professional practices, our doctor's practices, in our life is so far beyond what most of us ever consider. And that's what practice mastery is all about.
And we have 4 areas from stress to dreams.
Okay.
So which areas does tonight's webinar touch?
Sure. So those 4 areas, real quickly, we covered that first dinner. It took us from 1, bringing in the work, 2 is doing the work, 3 is billing the work, and 4 is collecting the money. So bringing the work, 1, 2, doing the work, 3, billing the work, and 4, collecting the money. And tonight's webinar on Influence Mastery actually touches on all 4.
Great. So congratulations to everybody on this webinar for working on your practice.
Yeah. Hey, listen, it takes a ton to be on. We had some people listening to live. We have a lot of people listening after live. Anybody listening live, feel free to send in your questions. We have Tiffany waiting to jump in and with anybody's questions and share them with us, and we'll answer them the best we can. And just the fact that you're on this webinar, just the fact that you're engaged in spending time in developing your practice, for us says that we're kindred spirits at a level. We believe in the same things because this is not hype, folks. This is free. We're not selling anything, right? We're giving away massive value. We believe tremendously in the ability for people to go from where they are to where they want to be. And that's what this is all about. And the fact that you're on says that. And you're listening to me. This morning I was listening to somebody else. You know, I had a coaching call yesterday. I was listening to YouTube videos last night and this morning. And so you don't think I'm making it up. I was watching Tony Robbins' Business Master. I was listening to people from Airbnb, from Venmo talk about how they built their companies and learning about how entrepreneurs are tackling obstacles. And I'm constantly listening to this information. So what practice mastery really is, and what we're beginning to do today is digesting and giving in very bite-sized pieces what we're doing. And real quickly, I'm sitting here with Greg DiPietro. Greg is a tremendous resource in our area of business development in the firm. He's a dear friend. We've been working together for 10 years. And Greg is somebody who's tremendously successful in the process of human influence and, has fantastic energy, understands pattern interrupts and some of the things we're going to be talking about here today. So Greg, I want to thank you for being here.
Thank you, Sean. I'm happy to be doing it.
Awesome.
So why are you watching?
Yeah. So that's a huge question, because that why that's underneath for you is going to really inform how you participate. And if your participation, first of all, you're listening. Congratulations. That's fantastic. But if you're passively listening and you're kind of like, yeah, it's interesting. Let me hear see if I hear something. It's not the optimal way for you to get the most benefit out of this. So really connect to why you're listening and what the stresses are, the problems are in your practice that brings you here. And even if you're succeeding massively at this point, obviously if you're listening, there's something that you want more time, more money, more fulfillment. There's something you want more of. Think of what that is. What's that pain? What's that obstacle that's there? And let that drive your behavior. Take notes. Listen to this again. Really practice the things we're going to be talking about at a significant level. But all of that begins with, why are you listening? And only you can answer that. What's that obstacle? What's that challenge that you want to get through? And if it's in any way, shape, or form related to creating results, it involves influence, I promise. And we're going to give you some tremendous information here today that's practically things that you can use.
So live session 1B, how to implement the 5 indispensable elements and 4 steps of influence mastery.
Right. So last time we talked about, so we're talking today, and you go, wait a minute, you're talking about 9 things? Yeah, I'm talking about 9 things. 9 things to shape all of your communication. 9. And if you move up the scale of mastery in these 9, you're going to have tremendous, tremendous opportunities. But you need both, because the 4 steps we're going to talk about today are sort of a sequential process. But the 5 indispensable elements, which we covered on the last webinar, and if you missed it, I'm going to suggest highly you check it out on YouTube, go listen to it again, or listen to it for the first time, because you have to walk through or maintain those 5 essential elements while you're walking through the 4 steps. And we're going to do a very, very quick recap on that in a second. We're certainly not going back to the last webinar.
So just as a preview for our next live session too, it's going to be at the Crowne Plaza in Edison on February 13th. This is next Tuesday, 7 o'clock, doors open at 6 o'clock.
Yeah. And why are we bringing that up now? Because that's going to be a place that you get the opportunity to practice the 5 indispensable elements of influence mastery, as well as the 4 steps. We're going to do practical exercises there. And just real quickly, for those that weren't there, we had, between our team and other people, we had close to 100 folks at Capitol Grill. It was a sellout, standing room only, incredible energy. There's all kinds of testimonials on our website and Facebook page, right, Tiffany, or somewhere? Where are they? I'm sorry? On YouTube. There's testimonials from the Practice Mastery Capitol Grill live session 1 on YouTube if you want to check it out. Great energy, great things going on. A ton of physicians showed up. People who obviously work in support and do billing collections in physicians' offices. It was fantastic. And we're doing session 1B at the Crowne Plaza in Edison. And it's going to be another opportunity to become inspired and connected to what you're doing, what your why is. We're going to have other new material that we're going to be giving, but most significantly, we're going to be practicing how we work through influence mastery. And for those of you that don't know, another quick footnote, I'm Sean Callagy, if I didn't say that already. I have 2 top 100 national jury verdicts, 2 top 100 national jury verdicts, one of only 2 people in the country to have that in the past 3 years. Collected $50 million for healthcare providers last year that were underpaid or unpaid, and we have 110 people that work here. Now, I'm not bragging about that. I'm simply telling you that there had to be a level of influence mastery involved in those outcomes. I've studied this material. We've worked through this material. We make it a part of what we teach and talk about in the law firm every day. This is very tangible. I'm not going to tell you to smile and look happy. The quality of the content that you're receiving today about what to do and how to do it is content and material I used to charge people for in my paid coaching programs. I don't do it anymore. I've decided to give it away. It's a tremendous relationship builder. It also serves to train my own team internally. I'm sharing that information with you here. It's a tremendous resource and asset, and it's very much like math or science, that it's not something to be passively listening to. Like, you don't just become great at geometry or chemistry because you passively listen. You have to practice. You have to implement these things on a consistent basis. So don't be listening for the things that you think you do know. It's not a question of yes or no. It's a question of what your level of mastery is. So
how do you register? You can,
good, but
just to read a few of the steps, you can register by calling us at our office, 201-261-1700. Ask for Jessica. You can email us at callagytour@callagylaw.com, or you could just register online at PM201 2018b.eventbrite.com.
Yeah. Call now, register, get yourself going, or even send a question to Tiffany right now. You can register online by typing a question to her. And Greg, what's the cost of this?
Absolutely free. Sean took the words out of my mouth. So I was just going to say, it's free. Why wouldn't you do it?
Yeah. And you can meet people and generate business. Most people come because they think they're going to meet people and generate business. They're like, oh my God, I'm going to have to listen to this talking stuff. And then people end up realizing that it's the content that's really the greatest resource when you're coming, as opposed to the ability to meet people.
Right. So call now. We did sell out last time, and we really would love to have you. It's a win-win without question.
Absolutely. Yeah, and we're not kidding. Like, that's not like hype. We sold out. More people came. We got a much bigger room this time, but we are expecting another sellout very confidently.
Great. And just to throw in there as well, I mean, subsequent to this live event, we're going to be offering to come into your office or to set up a conference call to talk to you about potentially working together. At the very least, you can get the perspective from the biggest medical revenue recovery firm in New Jersey about how your practice can recover more money up and above everything else that Sean's going to be talking about.
Absolutely.
It's an utter no-brainer.
Absolutely.
Right?
No, thanks, Craig, for that.
You're welcome. Seriously. And so just to recap quickly from live session 1A from a few weeks ago. So your part, number one, is the growth mindset.
Yeah, these are things we covered in that first live session. So go ahead, Greg.
Gotcha. Yeah. And then number two is to take notes. Number three is your practice. And then number four, not yes or no, is the scale of mastery. I guess where are you on?
Yeah, so absolutely. So real quickly, the growth mindset says that I can learn to do anything. It's not who I am. I'm not shy. I'm not uncomfortable. We can learn to do anything. We can learn to become comfortable doing anything. We can develop the skill to do anything. And we talked about a great TED Talk video on the growth versus fixed mindset. So no deeper. We reviewed that a little bit more in webinar one. We're talking about the ability to practice, which is utterly critical. So
not yes or no.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. And not yes or no, our scale of mastery. So what that means for those that are new, that means that a lot of folks listen to things and go, I know how to influence people. I know how to talk. I got the gift of gab. That's great. That's the equivalent of saying you know how to run and thinking that you're an Olympic sprinter. There's a massive difference between knowing conceptually, right, how to do something like it versus doing it at the highest level of mastery.
Right.
So the question isn't yes or no, I know how to influence people. The question is, do you know how to do it at the highest level, realizing that when you go up that scale of influence in any level on this at any elements of the scale of mastery, the results you produce become exponentially different, right? So and you'll hear the word mastery until you want to vomit, and we do that on purpose because we're trying to condition into your nervous system and your mindset that everything is about mastery. Everything is about mastery. Everything is about mastery. It's not about a question of if I know it or not. It's a question of where am I? Am I an 8 on the scale of 1 to 10, a 9? The difference between a 9 and 9.5 is even bigger than the difference between a 6 and an 8 in terms of the results you produce as you rise up the scale of mastery in every area. So mastery, 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 not I know that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So the results formula has 3 components. Number 1, practice mastery. 2, influence mastery. And 3, self-mastery.
Yeah. And so you'll hear us talk a lot about that. I don't want to spend a lot of time today because we have so much content to cover. But that is the results formula. If there's any result you're not getting in your life, it's because there's some deviation in process mastery, skill mastery, skill/influence mastery, or self-mastery. Today, we're focused on influence mastery. And this entire program, the Practice Mastery program for the year, which is 24 webinars, and we have numerous live sessions, is teaching people and helping us rise, training us in elevating up these levels of mastery during the entire year. And that's what this program is all about.
So what is influence mastery?
Okay, influence mastery.
Influence mastery is
going from essentially hello to other people acting on your idea. So you want to take through the steps specifically, Greg?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have number 1 being integrity filled.
Yeah. Listen, if anybody thinks this is technique or shtick, it is not. It is taking people. You have to genuinely have integrity, care about people. You have to genuinely realize that people have a need to be heard. And it's with that integrity that you communicate with all human beings, whether or not there's a positive outcome for you or not. all of our communication with other human beings should be polite, kind, a waiter, a waitress, a person in a Uber, a taxi, people we bump into on the street. We should be always caring about our communication with those people and what they're, what's going on in their life.
Right. Absolutely. And for number 2, it's about educating others.
Yes. Influence, education, and sales are all the same thing. Influence, education, and sales are all the same thing.
Number 3, of your idea, information, or request.
Sure. So let me take a step back real quickly. When I said that those are all the same thing, a lot of times people, when they move into the world of sales or marketing, they can begin to feel uncomfortable. Like they have to become somebody else. They have to become deceptive. They have to become manipulative. That would be a breach of rule number 1, right? Which is integrity. So if you look at the sales process, the marketing process, the communication process, all as educational, right? But they all involve influence. Whether we're chatting with a friend, like we want them to watch a TV show that we like, and we think they're genuinely going to like it. That's the integrity part, where it's genuinely going to be good for them. All of that is the same thing: education, influence, communication.
Right. About
your idea, right? Yes, that's obvious. Like you have an idea in your head.
Right.
Hey, I want to watch this TV show. Hey, you should refer patients to me. Hey, you should come work for me. Hey, this is a fair salary, right? All of those things are things that you believe in with integrity that you're sharing with other people.
Right. And then we have having them accept it.
Absolutely. Because a lot of times we talk we could talk for like 40 hours on this topic and we would not run out of information. So every word we're saying is critical. We're saying them quickly to be efficient in delivering this information, but it's utterly imperative that you understand the depth of the importance of what we're talking about. And the fact that the other people, if they're not accepting your idea, even if you think it makes logical sense, you're not effectively influencing anything.
Absolutely.
You can't.
And then taking action on it.
Absolutely. So great. You make a great presentation. You think you've done this incredible job. If the other person hasn't accepted it and taken action, you haven't effectively influenced. So if you want to really look at your influence level, think of how many times that you're out and you're communicating with people and you have an idea or a thought and they say yes and don't act, or don't say yes in the first place. That's going to give you a pretty good barometer on what your level of influence mastery is currently. And even if that's totally outstanding, then the question becomes, how do you grow it in your writing? How do you grow it in your public speaking when you're not one-on-one? That becomes the next step. So let me tell you, for example, this is one of the hardest things in the world to do. Delivering this webinar and talking into the darkness, right? We can't see you. There's no physical reaction. This is really challenging, to be gauging. We have an audience and they laugh, you can go deeper into something, a live audience, right? In public speaking, if you're listening, talking to somebody one-on-one, oh my God, that's a lot of that's the core of what we're talking about today. It becomes so easy because people are giving you cues. So we're going to teach you the easy part. Doing a webinar, challenging. Public speaking in front of a large group, a little less challenging, but quite challenging. The one-on-one meeting is what we're really talking about today. The one-on-one discussion, the one-on-one influencing.
So what are the 5 indispensable elements of influence mastery? So we have, number 1 is matching and mirroring.
Okay, this is all discussed in the last webinar. Matching and mirroring is meeting people where they are and matching their tone, their words, and their body language. Their tone will be their vocal qualities. We're going to go into much more details in the 4 steps in a minute. This is a quick review. This is what we did the last webinar on. So watch, if you don't remember, rewatch it, but that's what matching and mirroring is. If you don't maintain matching and mirroring during the 4 steps, you're going to have a tremendous problem.
Right. And then we have level 3 listening.
Yeah. Level 3 listening is inferential, emotionally based listening. And when you listen at level 3 in a real way, the depth of connection that's created with other human beings is utterly unbelievable. Just leaving Arizona the other day, we're in the car. We're talking to a wonderful gentleman who was the driver. In 5 minutes, I acknowledged him, validating him, was listening to him on a deep level, sharing how impressed we were by who he was. Within a couple minutes after that, he is crying, telling us his entire life story. 60-year-old man, totally professional, about what an honor it is to his parents, how his dad passed away from an illness. All these incredible things ended up coming out about his life personally. And we made this incredibly deep connection, all based on level 3 listening. Level 3 listening, again, is inferential listening. And you can learn more about that from the last webinar again. Good.
Right. So then we have congruent energy.
Congruent energy means that your words, your tone, your body language are in alignment. Your words, your tone, and your body language are all in alignment. If they're not in alignment, then people know that they don't believe what you're saying.
Right.
So if I'm like, hey, this is great material, really pay attention, not good. And if I'm like, wow, I'm really sad to hear that. So sorry that, that bad stuff really happened to you, dude. Like, not congruent, right? And people can see that. So we have to be really present in our communication and really in alignment with our words, our tone, and our body language. And we can't just say things that we don't mean.
Absolutely. I was just going to say that I think congruent energy happens largely when you are integrity filled and you have the right intentions, right? And you're trying to genuinely educate the person and you're not solely interested in them for dollar signs.
Absolutely.
Right?
Listen,
it all comes together.
All truth.
Right.
I am so constantly trying to get better at using the webinars and our platforms to teach, to inspire, to help people learn. I would love to do business with people. Certainly there's a back end of building legal relationships with clients from this. Honest to God, I care more, this is the truth, more about people using this material and succeeding with it. And that is the God's honest truth, right? It inspires me. It fires me up. I feel it's like my life's work. So hopefully you're hearing my congruent energy because I care tremendously.
So then we have energy transference.
Yeah. If we're not, influences and getting people to take action is about transferring your energy to another person. If you're not transferring energy from yourself to somebody else, there's nothing that's going to happen. And so, if we see an Energized, or if we're at the Practice Mastery Sessions Live, Energized, we're the same way internally. And that energy can be deep and resonating and have pauses, have intensity, right? It could be fun, it could be upbeat, intense, let's go, right? But there's got to be an energy transference from one human being to another to create influence.
Right. And then we have mastery of questions.
Okay. And we're going to talk a lot about that during the 4 steps, but we have to know when to use open-ended questions and closed-ended questions. Imperative. Questions give us the power of influence, right? That's the actual final piece that ties it all together. You have to have the energy transference, but if you're all fired up and excited and believe what you're talking about, but we're not effectively asking questions to effectively listen at level 3 and demonstrate our congruence and our ideas and our energy, nothing is going to happen. So these 5 pillars, these 5 indispensable elements, you should know cold.
Right.
To have influence mastery, you have to not only know them cold, you have to practice them regularly, be rating yourself in them. Like these 5 should be written down for the next month, and you should review them every single day, along with the 4 steps we're going to be talking about. And you'll become, just by doing that, you're going to become so much more aware of your communication with yourself, with your children, with people you care about, with the people that you work with, people that work for you, people you're selling to, people that you're trying to influence to do anything, having a discussion about buying a car, having a discussion with somebody in a restaurant about getting a table. All of these things are influence, and these are the 5 indispensable elements.
Right. So the 4 steps of influence mastery.
Okay, so now that was all a recap, right? And now we're going to begin the true substantive elements. And if you go, well, why didn't you get into it? I know all that stuff already. Well, I disagree. And the reason I would disagree is I've studied for 20 years, and just our reviewing it on this webinar made me think about conversations I had today. It made me think about how I'm doing in terms of my listening. It made me think about how effectively I'm asking questions. And it's helping me rise, even if it's fractionally, up the scale of influence mastery. So repetition, Tony Robbins says this all the time, repetition is the mother of skill. Repetition is the mother of skill. And so don't be looking for new all the time. Be looking to drill and drill and drill the fundamentals. John Wooden, most successful college basketball coach of all time, probably the most successful athletics coach of all time, would have players that were tremendous ball players shoot 1,000 layups, 1,000 foul shots, because he believed in drilling the fundamentals time and time again.
So the 4 steps are creating emotional rapport.
Okay, so here we go. Step 1, the creation of emotional rapport. The creation of emotional rapport is relevant because it's what opens up the line of dialogue between 2 different people. And so if we're communicating with somebody, and Greg and I are discussing potentially building a partnership or having a business relationship, or me buying a pen from him, or him referring patients to my practice, if we don't have rapport, then we are the equivalent of the teacher in Charlie Brown. And what did the teacher in Charlie Brown say, Greg? Remember? That's it. Wah, 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 right? And really, if anybody's ever watched Peanuts, what Charles Schultz is really saying is the teacher has no rapport with the kids. So the adults have no rapport with the kids. So when they're communicating, the kids aren't hearing anything except womp, womp, womp. And if you're going to talk to somebody about referring to you, for example, and building that type of relationship, or a patient saying yes to a treatment plan that you're proposing, or a lawyer referring to your practice cases, if you don't have emotional rapport and you start telling your story and why you're so terrific and how you care so much, they're going to be hearing wah, 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 wah. They're hearing nothing. So step one of the 4-step influence process is understanding that if you do not first establish rapport and open up communication lines at a truly deep and emotional level, no information is coming through. And you are literally sounding like the teacher in Peanuts. Right? Nothing is happening. But it goes further. The challenge isn't simply to create rapport. The challenge is to create emotional rapport, to be touching people at a heart and soul level that you're communicating with, so they're hearing you on a deeper than brain level. Because people do not make decisions on logical bases. They make decisions on emotional bases. And that is what happens. So we have to be seeking to create emotional rapport. And you're going to go, okay, great, Greg, Sean, practice mastery. How the heck do I do that? We're about to tell you. Mm-hmm. And the most wildly powerful thing we're about to teach you is how to create emotional rapport with every human being you ever meet for the rest of your life to a 99+% degree of certainty if you maintain the 5 indispensable elements that we talked about a moment ago, while you do what we're going to talk about at emotional rapport building, this step 1 of influence mastery, this emotional rapport building. If you do that, you're going to establish emotional rapport with everyone you communicate with. And it is going to become mind-boggling. And I practice it constantly. This morning on the way to work, I was in Uber. Here's what I know. This is in a 10-minute drive to the office while I did 2 phone calls in between. I know the gentleman who drove me had a dry cleaners. I know the gentleman who drove me ended up originally not going to college because he worked in his dad's chicken delight business in Lodi. I know that he opened his dry cleaners. I know that he ended up going to partnership with somebody who fleeced him and ran up their American Express card and charged $30,000 as they took a cross-country trip with their son, and they ended up selling some type of multi-level marketing at a convention in Las Vegas. They bypassed and went to a plant in Tennessee. This is a guy I've known for 10 minutes of my entire life. And I could tell you all of those things, and that fundamentally it made him give up on people. That's a 10-minute drive. Mm-hmm. And we were done, and I listened to that gentleman at level 3, inferential, in-depth listening, acknowledging, and validating. That guy had me get out of the car and go, that's a special person. That's a unique person. I like that person. And he maybe didn't even know why, but he felt heard, right, acknowledged, validated, cared about. And that is what we could do with emotional rapport. When you walk in, we had a business meeting today. We walked in, right? I went with a number of team members. I'm saying with all due respect, and I want to check this point with my team. Everybody walked past somebody at the front desk. Everybody. And bypassed them. I stopped. I said hello. I said, hey, I'm Sean. What's your name? Her name was Marissa. I made Marissa laugh. We joked and talked about the day and the rain and just were a little bit silly. I know that Marissa's from Patterson. I know that Marissa really enjoyed the acknowledgement and validation for her existence that we gave her there today. And that is not something people typically do. And the way you maintain your integrity in a sales process and communicating with people is you function that way with all human beings. Because then my check and balance on, okay, am I doing this as a manipulative shtick thing where I'm going to listen to people? Well, I am if I only do it in a sales meeting. I'm not if I do with every driver I meet. I'm visually disabled. For those of you that don't know, I've been driving in 5 years. So I have people driving all the time. So if I'm sitting there talking to these people with complete integrity, if I'm doing it and talking to every waiter and waitress that I meet, and I'm not talking about a long conversation. I'm present with the people that I'm with. I'm talking about a 3 to 5 minute, 2-3 minute quick acknowledgement. How are you? I see you. I hear you. You exist. You matter. It's been a pleasure to interact with you, giving people respect, acknowledgement, and a little bit of listening. That's what we're talking about emotional rapport building. And that's how we maintain our integrity, but we haven't given you the steps yet. Greg.
Right. So number 2, elicit pain and yes strategy.
Okay. That's going to be the second thing we talk about. The third is going to be, we can flip through the next couple, and then we're going to go back and deal with them one at a time.
Sure.
The second is going to be listening, pain, and yes strategy. That's how people make decisions about what they're going to say yes or no to, and people make decisions on pain, not pleasure. Third is going to be our heroic unique identity. We're going to talk about that component. And fourth is going to be our energized agreement formation. Those 4 steps are how you go from hello to people acting on your idea. Remember, we talked about what influence mastery is? This is how you do it. Emotional rapport building, eliciting pain and yes strategy, conveyance of heroic unique identity, and the energized agreement formation. That's how we do it. And now we're going to take these one by one and show you their essential elements.
Right. So this is an intro to the 4 steps.
Yeah. Right. So when I used to do this is our paid coaching program. And for those of you listening, oh, here we go, paid coaching program. No, I have people that ask me to coach them and get paid regularly. I am not doing that. I have no interest in doing that. This is all stuff that we give away. And, but here's the but. In this webinar today is simply an introduction to these 4 concepts that you'll get enough content today to begin using it. But you're going to have to come to Practice Mastery, and that's free also, to practice it, to get feedback from people. And the idea of Practice Mastery is so you're also having an accountability partnership. You're having people that are listening to you and hearing you. And again, this is all free. And it's making you a better communicator. And so we can't, if you listen to this webinar today, and even if you take notes, you're like, okay, I got it. I understand. There's no way. That's like taking one golf lesson and thinking now you know how to play golf. But I'll tell you, you're going to get a tremendous amount more value out of this webinar than you ever could out of a golf lesson, because we break this down so incredibly simply. And if you just listen to this a couple of times, I would repeat every webinar you're going to be listening to. I will repeat at least 2 or 3 times and then continue to practice it, because we're talking transformational levels of results. So it's an intro. That means that it's not, you don't become a master just by listening to this, but you can literally triple, quadruple the effectiveness of your communication based on this webinar alone. Tomorrow, if you do this, you can have your communication be twice as effective, 3 times as effective. That is not hyperbole. It is not a joke. It can be transformational and utterly mind-blowing. Right?
Absolutely. So step 1, creating emotional rapport. Why must I create emotional rapport, Sean?
That's the same thing, right? I got a little ahead of myself. So that's because people are not hearing you. They're not taught. If you don't have emotional rapport, they're not hearing anything that you're saying. They're blocked. That people are thinking, when people meet you, especially in a sales situation, especially if you're people's boss, they think you have a preset agenda, right? So if you're talking into that wall of preset agenda and you don't have emotional rapport, whatever you're communicating about is being filtered through that Charlie Brown, Peanuts prism of wah, 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 wah.
Right.
Yep. And there's no energized, there's no energy transference. Nothing is happening. That's why we have to have emotional rapport.
I was just going to say, without establishing emotional rapport, you've already put yourself into that box of every other person that comes into my office or that I talk to. The ability to create at least a fairly significant level of emotional rapport, I think, will already make people see you with a certain level of distinction. And you will already, in most people's mind, contrast what they're ordinarily used to interacting with in life.
And the guy that's talking, by the way, so you're hearing a lot from me, and I didn't say this before, just for credibility, Greg, who's talking, Greg DiPietro, has booked over 1,000 meetings via cold call.
1,250 to be exact.
1,250 to be exact. Thank you, Greg. That's awesome.
There we go.
Right there. 1,250 meetings.
Right.
Cold. Imagine that. Who here, who's listening right now that wants to run out and go try to book 1,250 meetings calling cold? That's what this dude has done. Right. So when he's talking about these principles, he has tremendous credibility and experience.
And the self-mastery aspect to this is enormous. So you're filling yourself up to a point where it's kind of overflowing right away, right out of the gates with people, so they can immediately tap into a certain level of energy or uniqueness that you bring into the equation, right?
Amen, brother.
Right. So why do I create emotional rapport? You've talked about this a little bit. I'll keep on going. So why does this work? So what do people need? Significance of connection through being heard, acknowledged, and validated.
Yeah. So that is exactly what we're talking about. So in case you're wondering, like, I don't understand, why do people really care for strangers listening to them? Yes, if you listen at level 3 with empathy, because every human being has needs, and every human being needs to feel significant, and every human being needs to feel connection. Every single solitary one without fail. And when we're effectively listening at level 3 and following the process that we've created here to build emotional rapport, because this is hard to do. So we're going to give you like literally the only formula you will ever need to build emotional rapport in the next couple minutes in your life. Right? People are like, you know what I do is I look at a painting on the wall and go, you like the Jets? I look at a picture and see somebody's got kids. I look at a picture and see a vacation place. So I talk, no. And we'll talk about why not in a minute. This is not technique. This is an assured process to deeply connect to people where they're feeling significant and they're feeling connection, which most people don't feel at the level that they want to. Most people don't get heard in their own homes. People do a horrendous job of maintaining growing relationships. They don't give people the level of significance, the empathetic listening that maintains connection. They don't have it. So when they meet somebody, like the gentleman I knew the guy for 10 minutes in the car today. In Arizona, we knew somebody for an hour. And these people were like bearing their soul. The gentleman in Arizona was weeping, right? Nicole, am I exaggerating?
No.
Weeping, right? And was so thankful for how he was heard and listened to. That is the power of what we're talking about. And the people that are around me, Greg, you've been around me for a long time. Anybody jump in, Nicole? Like, are we pretty consistently having people that are touched at a very deep level that we communicate with?
Yeah.
Nicole?
All the time.
All the time. Was the answer. And the reasoning is because that's what we do. So if we're having an office lunch, we're out with a bunch of people, we're talking to the waiter, waitress, they just feel differently. It's a different level of connection. And we try to give that gift to everybody. It's a gift that you're giving people. That's why this works. Right? And as long as you're maintaining integrity, there's no manipulation in it. Because if all you're doing is giving that same gift to everybody you interact with, it dramatically builds connection, which makes it all the more likely they're going to accept your ideas and what we're talking about.
So maintain the 5 indispensable elements throughout each step.
Yeah. If you lose, so we're going to give you these steps, and they're questions and they're how you kind of work through the process. But if you lose any of the 5 indispensable elements, if you're not matching and mirroring, if you're not creating energy, if you're not having your own congruency, transferring the energy, if you lose any of those pieces in the puzzle, it's not going to work. So you have to maintain your congruence, your energy, your focus, your presence, genuinely. And if it breaches, you have to be honest about why. You're like, if you get distracted, listen, I'm sorry, I was just a little bit distracted. Right before I came to the meeting, I just found out that I was having a little bit of challenge. My son got in trouble in school. I'm distracted by it. I apologize. So I lost a little bit of focus there. Be honest, be real, be genuine with people. People appreciate it enormously.
Right. Absolutely. So emotional rapport question areas.
Yeah. Here we go.
So I'll read them off real quickly.
Yeah.
Where you been? Where you going? What's working? What are the challenges?
That's it. Okay, webinar over. Kidding. So those 4 areas are everything in terms of creating emotional rapport. Everything. So let's go. We talked about mastering questions as one of the indispensable elements. As you're going through the emotional rapport building process, everything is an open-ended question. Right? So let's put you have a lot of content here, and I want to give you a little auditory map that maybe becomes visual for you. We're in influence mastery, which is how you go from hello to yes. There's 4 steps. We're just at step 1, which is emotional rapport building. We're just at step 1. While we're going through these 4 steps, we're maintaining the 5 indispensable elements. So these are things to keep in mind that we have to have primarily conditioning on and go through the 4 steps. And you're about to say potentially in your fixed mindset fear arising, you're about to go, oh my God, dude, this is like friggin' overwhelming. How am I going to remember all this stuff? I'm not going to be present. I'm not going to be comfortable. And the answer is yes, you will if you practice. Yes, you will if you practice. And if you practice with everyone you meet, not just in sales meetings. You're right. If you wait till every sales meeting you have to practice, you're doomed. If you do this with everyone you interact with, and this is how you communicate in a caring, integrity-filled way with other humans, you're gonna be amazing at this. Okay? So these are the 4 areas. Where you been? Ready? So Greg, let's pretend Greg and I are meeting, and he's agreed to come to lunch with me, and he's a potential referral source, let's say, and I'm a doctor. So let's say, I'm an orthopedic surgeon, Greg's a chiropractor.
Okay.
We have a nice little conversation, and I'm like, so hey, Greg, thanks for joining me. How you doing?
Doing pretty well.
Okay. So what, can I ask you honestly, what brought you here today that made you feel comfortable to come? That's where you've been. That's a question going backwards in time. So step 1 of where you've been are questions that go backwards in time, and they start with the most just immediately kind of prior time. What brought you here? That is a question from the past. What brought you here? Right? And now here's the tricky part. The fun or amazing part is versus asking, hey, how's your day going? Right? Well, what if Greg's day is going horrendously? He just had a tremendous, problem or fight or battle or something. And he doesn't really feel like talking about it. So you could ask that question. It is open-ended. But what brought you here? Something brought him here. It's not a dangerous topic. It's not anything bad, right? He's here. So, hey, what brought you here?
Well, I'm always looking to grow my practice, and I'm always looking to meet new doctors in the area.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, hey, now, great segue, because the next question we always want to go through, we're still in number 1, where you been? So, hey, where's your practice? Right? That's a question from the past.
Right.
He's not in his practice. It's been there for a while, right? He said his practice. He has a practice. So, hey, where's your practice?
In Paramus.
Cool. Hey, by the way, where you're from originally? That's the key segue question. And we're still in number 1. You're like, wait a minute. All it says is where you been.
Right.
It's a category of questions. It's a category of questions that's going to help you walk through with people the things that have happened in their life. Okay? And here's the magic. Everybody has been somewhere. Everybody has been somewhere. Right? I have a bunch of fine folks. Nicole, you've been somewhere, right? Tiffany, you been somewhere?
Yes,
Okay. Carrie?
of course.
Right? Greg?
Absolutely.
I've been somewhere. You've all been somewhere.
Yeah.
And what we're about to do is to begin the process of understanding that people are going to tell us exactly what they want to talk about. Right? They can tell us exactly what they want to talk about. So, and let's be real with Greg for a second. So let's pretend you're you.
Okay.
Right? In terms of now, where you're from?
Ridgewood.
Awesome, dude. And how you say Ridgewood, like grew up in Ridgewood?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I was in Bergen County, prior to then, so I've been in Bergen County my whole life.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Now, Greg didn't tell me anything and didn't seem comfortable giving me too many cues. He did say Bergen County his whole life. He did say Ridgewood, but he didn't express any particular excitement about discussing it, right? So, and did you go to Ridgewood High School, Greg?
Yes.
Cool. Gives me nothing.
Right.
That's telling me he doesn't really feel like talking about that. So I'm not going to start asking him more questions about Ridgewood High School, but I'm taking him back through his history.
Right.
So what'd you do after high school?
I went to college locally, then I transferred to Penn State.
Okay. Still pretty flat. So Greg's taking us back through his background and not giving us much. Because if somebody was really interested, I didn't hear, this is what you're looking for as you're going through the past questions, right? You're looking for some cue of energy.
Right.
Either in the word selection the vocal qualities
Right.
or the body language. Greg did not have a vocal quality change.
Mhm.
Greg did not have a word change. And Greg did not have a body language change, which you can't see, but he didn't. And potentially, Greg was a little bit taken off because we didn't talk about doing this. So he's like, whoa, dude, I don't know if I feel like talking about myself that much. Right? And is that possible? That's how you feel a little bit,
Maybe,
Greg?
yeah. I haven't thought. Maybe I'm playing a role as opposed to actually just being myself.
Yeah.
Interesting, right?
Right? But I wouldn't ask him more questions about those things.
Right.
Because he didn't give me anything. And I'm not going to make him ever talk about what he doesn't want to talk about because this is giving him the gift of talking about life.
Right.
So let's keep going. Now let's roll. Now you're the doctor. So and after after college at Penn State, right? What'd you do next?
Kind of hung out for a while. I partied a lot. Worked fairly intermittently. And then I eventually hooked up with you.
Okay. So Greg chuckled a little bit, right? So and I'm taking it through more of life. So now I have something interesting. So dude, you partied a lot, and I'm going to match and mirror.
Yeah.
Greg said I partied a lot. Like smiled and laughed, right? He's laughing a little bit. So,
Look at that rapport.
Right?
That's
like,
awesome.
Right? Are you having fun?
Without
this
question.
is totally genuine.
Right.
So you know why we're having fun? Because guess what Greg wants to talk about? and he's laughing. Do you not?
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
So totally ready to have fun. And I'm smiling. Is everybody having fun in this room right now? Energy change, yes. Right? Talk, yes. Nobody wants to talk. So, because they don't feel like doing this. So we're making them do that. So I'm not going to make them do that. So Greg is having fun and wants to talk about it. So that's how perceptive we could be at level 3 listening. Right. I asked him where he was from. No more questions to ask. I asked him about high school, college, where you've been, and nothing. And then he goes, and then I partied a lot. What that tells us, Greg didn't have to tell me that.
Right.
A lot went on in high school. A lot went on in college. He didn't feel like telling me. But then when I said, what happened next? He said, I partied a lot. Because that's what he felt like talking about, right? And that's what we talk about. So I'm going to give him the gift of
and that's
listening.
a great opening.
Right? It absolutely is. It's fun. We're laughing, having a good time, right? So what's this? I partied a lot. Like, what are you talking about, dude? Like, what happened? What happened?
What didn't happen?
Right. Wait. And I said it. I'm matching his energy.
Absolutely.
I'm matching his humor.
Right.
I'm like sitting up on my chair. I'm like, dude, this is fun. This is amazing.
Absolutely.
And you go, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Totally.
Right. No, I'm saying, Greg feels totally comfortable. He said, now you're saying to me right now, like, wait, I'm going to do this at a business lunch. Yes. Absolutely. This is all you're going to do at your business lunches from now on if you want to grow your practice faster. That's what you're going to do. Absolutely. If you start not building emotional rapport and you're talking about why your practice is good and what you want and why you're smart and why you're a great doctor or a great lawyer, whatever, you will fail. You're not a master. You're like below average. You're so far away from where you can be. And that's not a criticism. That's to show you the opportunity that is mind-boggling in terms of what can happen. Because as soon as you begin to build that relationship, then people like each other. Fun is happening. Energy is being transferred. It's like totally phenomenal what is going on. Absolutely. Off the hook, right? So I'm going to go. So now, and think of this. We're balancing out of this to illustrate the point back and forth. But guaranteed, we're going to engage Greg again, and he's going to be like having a good time in 2 seconds, even though this is totally unnatural. And we're in a room on a webinar and keep breaking rapport and going into like teaching moment. It's still going to be easy to go back because that's how much Greg wants to talk about his partying. So, dude, what happened? So you're done with college. Last we left off, we said, what happened after college? You're like, I partied. So what do you mean?
Well, I was in my early 20s and I just had a lot of fun.
Okay.
Did lots of cool things. Then eventually, when I was 27, I decided to just kind of cold turkey stop drinking. And it's been over 11 years since I had a sip.
Okay. Ready? You go, whoa. But that's what happens. You know why? You know what that means, everybody? That means Greg is proud of the fact that he stopped drinking. And Greg is proud of the fact he hasn't drank for 11 years. And honest to God, people, we did not plan any of this. True, Greg?
Absolutely true.
Right? Totally. Right. We don't have to do any. Like, I could do this to every person, and you can, and Greg can, and everybody can, with everyone. Because this is real. And I'm listening intently, and Greg trusts me, knows that I care. And by the way, right? He's excited to share that and get the significance from having done something that most people can't do.
Yeah.
Right? Am I on track, Greg, or not on track?
Yeah.
You take pride and feel good about?
Absolutely. And I can elaborate on.
Please, go ahead.
Well, I mean, just to keep going on that respect. I mean, I remember I was at a point where I kind of knew that I wanted to get to a higher level in my life. So I temporarily had to kind of put behind me the partying 2 or 3 times a week, regardless of the fact that it was fairly common to do in your 20s. And I eventually started working for Sean back in the beginning of 2007, and things just started going well. And I realized that for me personally, kind of going back to that type of lifestyle wouldn't have benefited me more. So I was never goal oriented and completely never drinking again. But I realized that for me personally, it wouldn't have had any benefit. So I just stayed without it and just continued to go on an upward trajectory, you know?
Awesome. And if you, in case you're lost right now, thinking we're having a conversation about not drinking, we're not. We're having a conversation about emotional rapport building at step 1, which is where you've been. And this happens in people, if you don't believe me, try this. Mm-hmm. And if it's not working for you, it's because you're not following the 5 indispensable elements. Because you're not really listening, using closed-ended questions, you're not really present, you're trying to take somebody somewhere. You have to take anybody anywhere. Take them back through their life. Hey, where are you from? Where you been? You know, right? So we could easily keep doing this. And by the way, to give you the concept of how much there is to learn and do, I could talk about emotional rapport building for the next 5 hours. I can't, right? This is a limited time webinar, and we're going to be on for probably another 20, 25 minutes. So we're going to move along. But this first step of where you've been takes everybody up until today. So it would sound like this. So let me do it more quickly. I wouldn't even get an answer from Greg. So I'll go back and forth really quickly. So I would then probably say, okay, Greg, awesome. And then let's say that Greg's a physician. So, hey, what brought you to medical school, right? What'd you do next? What'd you do next? What'd you do next? Mm-hmm. You know, and if they give me here's the key. They give you any indicator of energy through word change, like, so yeah, it was really challenging, or a real problem. That's a word change. Real problem is an emotionalized, energetic word. If they gave you, a change in tone, like, so yeah, and I was so frustrated, right? Like, frustrated is a big word, or I was really challenged, But you see the physiological change, their body language changes, their whatever. Mm-hmm. You're going to ask more questions. Really? So what happened? What's that about? Right. Open-ended questions, all the way through to today. So if you're looking and talking to somebody who's a lawyer, you're seeking referrals from, a doctor, right? You're all the way up to today, and they've told you about their practice. They told you what they're, they've told you where they are today. Then the question becomes, so you take them right up to today. So how's your practice? How many people? What's going on? Whatever. Then the question becomes, right? Where are you going? Right. Now you've taken them from the immediate past all the way back. Hey, where you're from? That's the all the way back question is where you're from. Mm-hmm. All the way up to today. And now you're going, so where's it all going? So I would say something like, if I ask Greg all those questions about his practice, told me about a whole bunch of stuff, I would say to him, hey, Greg, so let me ask you, where's this all going? What's your why are you doing all this, and where do you want to take it all in terms of your practice? Let's pretend let's go play role. You're a doctor.
Gotcha.
So where do you want to take all this in your practice?
I know in my mind that I have things I want to do, but I never really seem to take the initiative. I want to grow. I want to double my practice. Okay. But I just haven't done it.
Okay. So, and I'm hearing some frustration, right? That's an acknowledgement, validation, level 3 listening. Hey, I'm hearing some frustration there. Right. Can I ask you this, Greg?
Yeah.
Why do you want to double your practice? Like, what's underneath that? Why? This is all now in question number 2. Where are you going? Where are you going? Right? Where are you going? Mm-hmm. And the why underneath it is a great emotional rapport building question. Right. So you want to double your practice. Why?
So I would say, obviously.
Hear my tone. Listen to my tone. Mm-hmm. Why? What does that say? I'm listening. Right. I care. I'm hearing. I'm sitting forward. I'm engaged. Why? Right? Good.
Well, obviously financially, but also I think just it would make me feel even more successful.
Okay, awesome. And so you want to feel even more successful, right? But why? You know what I mean? Like, what drives you? Like, what's life all about for you?
Right.
And you go, you're asking somebody that you just met these questions. Answer is yes. And if you take them out of context, it sounds ridiculous. If you have emotionally built rapport and taken somebody through where they've been, and you're following the 5 indispensable elements, this is what happens every time. And everybody I talk to wants to talk to me like they're addicted to crack. because they get listening at a level that they don't typically get.
Right.
And that's what builds relationship. So where are you going? And you want to make it clear. So ideally, you want to double your practice. It's going to make you feel more significant. What kind of time period do you want to double your practice? And you could ask people clarifying questions, take them through that journey. Now, here's where it gets truly transformational in the depth. Then you go, so hey, tell me, in that process of doubling your practice, what's working?
Well, I mean, at least I have a pretty good practice at this point. So that's a good thing. And a lot of my patients come back, feel like I have a good rapport with them. But, on the business side of things.
See, Ray, stop. Greg just did it. And it's what happens every time. You ask people what's working, and you know what they tell you? They tell you a little bit what's working, and they immediately go into pain because people are driven more by pain than pleasure. Go through this 4 steps of emotional rapport building, right? Which is only step 1 in the 4-step influence mastery process. And you're going to find that happens every time. So you create a connection, you create a relationship, and you're like, hey, what's working towards that dream? Right? You've established what their dream is by saying, where is this going? That's essentially of what's your ideal, what's your dream, where do you want to go? You're taking them experientially in their mind, in their heart, energetically to what they really want and what place they want to go to. That's a beautiful thing to do for a human being by listening to them genuinely. So if you're like, oh, this is ridiculous. How are people really want to sit and listen to my dreams? Yeah. Right? Or tell me their dreams? Yes, they do. Yes, they do. If they feel comfortable that you care, if they feel safe, if they feel secure, and you're genuine and integrity filled, absolutely. Okay? And then when you ask them what's working, they're going to tell you a little bit, and then they're going to tell you the challenges. And then let them. And then you can ask them, so what are you doing about that? And how's that going? And how's that making you feel? You're taking people on the journey, right, into that place that you're uncovering their frustration and pain deep down inside. So you're like, wait a minute, you want to take people to a place of pain? No, I want to release the pain valve because people have pain. I want to release the pain valve and I want to help them solve it potentially if I can help. But I certainly want to give them empathy and caring and listening, level 3. Level 3 listening is empathetic inferential listening, right? Listen to the last webinar if you don't have that yet. So those are the 4 steps. Where you've been, 4 steps to emotional rapport building. Where you've been, where you're going, what's working, what the challenges, the key things, recap quickly, is you're looking for energized words, vocal qualities, their tone, their pausing, or body language change. They look down, they look up, yeah, everything's fine. As they're looking down, everything's fine. No, hey, what's going on, Greg? Look, you're saying everything's fine, but it doesn't look like it. You're like, you really talk to people that way? Of course I do. Every day. Do I talk to people that way, Greg?
Absolutely.
Every day. I'm telling people 7% of communication are words we use. 55% is body language, 38% is vocal qualities, tone, pausing, acceleration, all those things. So if you're not listening to the other 93%, besides the words, you're missing what people are telling you, right? Absolutely. I could not even listen to the words, and I could just hear the vocal qualities. That 38%, I could tell you what people are thinking from that. So can you, if you study it and you practice it, you connect at a deep level.
Right.
So that is emotional rapport building.
And I would imagine this would go very far too with doctors and their patients, right? To even further establish the rapport in that respect to make them want to keep coming back.
Unquestionably.
Right.
Doctors, this is every human interaction, sales, marketing, leadership, customer service, everything imaginable.
Right. So if it doesn't work, you need growth in the 5 elements of influence mastery,
which we said a couple of times, 5 indispensable elements, right? You have to know those 5 because that means you're not congruent. You're not using questions effectively. You're not listening at level 3. You're missing your cues of energized wording. That's where this goes awry, right? That's where this goes awry. And by the way, people, I'm so much better at teaching this today than I was 15 years ago when I was selling this program. I was pretty good. And I figured this. I built this model of influence mastery, synthesizing tons of people's work. This is mine. Right? This isn't something I got from somewhere. And the things I'm sharing with you are the things that I now know are indispensable. And that's why I keep saying those energized words and missing those shifts in tone, vocal qualities, words, and body language. Those are the keys that most people miss. And they're stumbling their way through the questions. The questions without the indispensable elements don't build rapport for you.
So practice is a must.
Dude, crazy must. Every day, every conversation, every person, everywhere, especially with strangers. so much value can be added, because those are the scariest. And if you're able to establish emotional rapport with a stranger, you can do it every time in sales, marketing, and starting with the team you have internally and starting with the people you love and care about.
Absolutely. And the live session in Edison is going to be a great opportunity for that.
Absolutely.
And you're going to get feedback as well. So as good as you think you are, you can always learn.
And we're going to have people give you feedback and put you in groups. And these are drills and exercises I used to do in the coaching program. And we're doing that at the Crowne Plaza in Edison, 6 p.m., February 13th. Please be there. If you're like, oh, so this is like a shticky way to get us there. No, it's a gift I am giving you out of all due respect to come and practice at a place for free with other people. So yeah, I would like you to come. I promise you, and this is the God's honest truth, you are getting a lot more out of coming than I am of having you there. I promise. I swear to God, promise.
So step 2, eliciting pain and yes strategy.
Okay. Everybody, we talked about this a minute ago. So this is the second step, right? So we've gone through, hey, where are you going? What's working? Where you're going? What's working with the challenges? The second step is to elicit people's yes and pain strategy. And this is going to be kind of focused on what it is that you want to happen. So if I'm talking to Greg and we're talking about, hey, let's go to dinner, we have rapport, right? Let's assume we have emotional rapport already. We're buddies, right? And, we're connected. So, we don't need to go through those emotional rapport steps, but, or we just did meeting somebody. And I asked Greg, hey, where would you like to go to dinner? And I say, here's some hesitancy, some challenge. I would kind of ask into him, say, hey, what kind of places do you like to go to dinner? Let's say we're developing a relationship, right? What kind of places don't you like? So I'm asking him to describe his yes strategy. What kind of places do you like to go? I'm not like, hey, dude, I know this great sushi place. Maybe he hates sushi. Or if you're now let's say you're talking to an attorney and you're like, hey, I could do a great job. I do an amazing job at being responsive and taking care of the patients. And you're saying all these things, but let's say the attorney's number one pain in dealing with medical practitioners, right, is that they don't know how to write a good report. So they may take great care of a patient, but they do not know how to document appropriately with integrity what was wrong. And you're there just chatting away about what you can do, but you don't know what that person's pain point is. And maybe you're there, I could give you referrals, we could build a great relationship, but maybe the attorney doesn't want referrals because the attorney simply wants somebody who can write an accurate, integrity-filled, fantastic report. And you keep just talking about things because you don't know their pain point. Let's say that you're talking to an insurance adjuster, and you're working in billing collections inside of a practice. And you're talking to them and you're saying, we're going to get you, we're going to come and, file against you. We're going to do this. Or you're talking to them about how great a doctor the person is and why the doctor should get paid. Well, maybe their pain point is to get the file closed is that they just need some documentation, right? Or maybe they don't trust that your doctor is a good doctor and that they overtreat or something. So you have to ask, say, listen, hey, what is it that, how can I help you do your job? Right? I know we built a little bit of emotional rapport. Talk to me. What's your pain point? What's your problem? Like, what do you need to say yes and get claims approved generally? That is the second step. You're identifying the person you're communicating with their pain points, and you're trying to understand what makes them say yes. That is the second step. And it's clarifying questions. So it's like, hey, so we built some rapport, we're connected. And the question is, so, when you're dealing with, let's say that you're, again, now talking to an attorney and you want referrals, a great question would be, hey, when you're working with a doctor, what is it that you look for in that doctor that you want to refer your clients to? And they're like, I don't know. Like, of course, but if you did know, if you had to take a guess, like really think about it. And what drives you crazy? What are the things that you get most upset about with the doctors that you're dealing with? And great question. And what are the things that make you the happiest when you're dealing with doctors? So you're clarifying the yes strategy and establishing pain points, right? And here's a key. This is a key takeaway. We're going to be done with this point. We're going to be on for 15 more minutes and done. We're almost done with step 2 right here. Key is when they go, oh, we want them to be diligent. There's an inclination to go, I'm diligent. Don't say you're diligent. Ask them, so, hey, help me. What do you mean by diligent? What do you mean by responsive? Because you might start telling stories about being responsive. I have a crazy client who remained nameless. And that dude, when I first met him, his definition of responsive was my front desk person picking up the phone before the second ring and getting me on the phone immediately. That was responsive. So imagine me telling that person, hey, I'm super responsive. We get back to all of our clients within 24 hours. He would have started throwing things at us, right? So this is about clarifying people's pain point and people's yes strategy related to what it is that you're trying to build a relationship about. If you want to go on a date with somebody or a second date and you're on a first date, the question will be, hey, what are some things that really upset you and bother you? Hey, what are things that you're looking for? And that helps you decide also, by the way, if you want to have a relationship like that. What if you're sitting down with an attorney and they're like, I want a doctor who's going to write whatever I want in a report. Well, guess what? That's insurance fraud. You go to jail. So you just learned that that's probably somebody you're not going to be doing business with by this second step. So this is also a way of you deciding if you want to further and move further in the relationship, whatever type of relationship it is. Eliciting yes strategy, eliciting pain points, and making completely sure you're clarifying what they mean. Done step 2.
So you must understand pain over pleasure.
Yeah, and people are motivated way more by pain. When we get to step 3, because everything we've done in these first 2 steps has been about open-ended questions to understand, to have emotional rapport, and then to be clarifying yes strategy and pain points, because you have to solve people's pain, not meet their pleasure. Right. So let's say that somebody is like, yeah, I want this, I want that, I want this, but I can't stand this and I need that fixed. Well, you could give them all those things they're super excited about getting, but unless you fix the thing that they're in pain over, you're not going anywhere. So you have to know the pain point and you have to address and help the pain point with integrity.
So clarifying yes strategy, it is about the other person.
Yeah, not about us. It's about what they need, their pain, their wants. Okay.
Right. So we are shaping the yes strategy.
Absolutely, by clarifying questions.
Right,
Yeah.
absolutely. So just a reminder for steps 1 and 2, it's all open-ended questions and level 3 listening.
Absolutely. And if you ask any closed-ended questions, it's a problem. They break rapport. Closed-ended questions are yes or no questions. Open-ended questions that start with is, are, was, were, and open-ended questions are questions like who, what, when, why, where, and how. And you got to know those. You got to know open-ended, closed-ended, and you use all open-ended at steps 1 and 2 of the influence mastery, 4-step influence mastery process.
So step 3, creating your powerful and heroic unique identity.
Absolutely. So creating a powerful and heroic unique identity. I could talk about this for 5 hours. So we're going to go through this a lot faster than 5 hours because I want to try to wrap this up in the next 10 minutes. And forgive me, we're always going to go long on these, always, because I just care so much about delivering tremendous content and value. And this information, I know it's only an introduction, but getting these distinctions down are critical even for the introductory phase. So at step 3, what's happening is you're taking your unique identity and you're showing people how it solves their pain points in relationship to having a relationship with them, in connection with having a relationship with them. So for example, if attorneys are really interested in having doctors that understand how to document with integrity, are incredibly responsive to their needs, open their schedule to get their clients in right away, are super responsive, are wildly diligent, and treat their clients like absolute gold, right? Understand rapport building, understand connection. That's what they want. You need to understand that your unique identity has to match that. And here's the interesting part. We need to understand this. We don't have one unique identity, right? I can be incredibly empathetic, right? I could also be incredibly competitive, ferociously intense, and absolutely destructive of obstacles in the way of my clients with integrity, right? So I'm both. And if a person's really needing some empathy and caring about a problem they're having, which is relatively innocuous in the legal world, well, then I'm certainly going to be communicating much more from that place of empathy and about my empathy. If a person has gotten their business stolen from them and they've been absolutely destroyed by a inhuman bully who's breaking the law, well, then they're going to want to know that I could put my cape on and I could jump tall buildings in a single bound and crush and destroy and bring justice, right? So our unique identity could be a bunch of different things that are truly a part of us.
Right. So who do people want to do business with? If they are happy, like them, if not completely, like they want to be.
Right. So what this means is that everybody wants to build a relationship with people like them in the areas they're happy about. So let's say people are really proud that they're pretty outgoing. Then they're going to want to be around outgoing people, right? Or let's say that they're not so outgoing, but they wish they were outgoing. Then they're going to want to be friends with people who are outgoing. So people build relationships with people that are like they are or like they want to be.
So what are the hero characteristics? There's a lot of them. Do you want to read
A whole bunch? Yeah. So listen, this is going to be the quick down and dirty on this, so we can bring it to a wrap. Review this constantly. We're going to give you the beginning of a list of hero characteristics that people are interested in. The shortcut we always say is think of like heroic characters in movies, television, even from real life. These are the characteristics that resonate with people, that people are looking for. But here's the interesting part. I think we have a slide coming up. I'm going to say it now. That we're like, so I have to pretend I'm these things? Read the list first, then I'll say that. So here are the characteristics that people want to find and see.
Sure. So we have integrity, passion, fun, humor, chivalry, strength, power, vision, pride, humility, candor, empathy, problem solving, focus, leadership, congruence, certainty, growing, open, and transcendent.
Right? Those are people that people want to hang out and do business with. And you go, I'm not any of those things. Yes, you are. And the problem is that you're not connected to the fact that you are. We are all those things. We are all those things. And we're other things, because none of us are perfect. We're far from it. But if we're consistently focusing on these aspects, I've never been transcendent. I guarantee you have. I guarantee you've risen above something in your life in a moment. And if we could be that in a moment, we could be that consistently. We could be that going from a moment to pretty often to pretty consistently, if not virtually all the time. Right? And that's what we're seeking, is to understand that this is what we're moving towards as far as who we are. And we didn't write them, there are anti-hero characteristics. Here's what you don't want to be. Sarcastic, cynical, right? Negative. Those are characteristics that people will accept in their life until they meet people who are demonstrating consistently the hero characteristics. They will laugh with the cynics, the sarcastics, and have a good time having a few drinks, and they will dump their ass as soon as they find people that are demonstrating the hero characteristics. People want to be around positive vibrational energy that's genuine 10 times more than they want to be people who are not. That is the God's honest truth in a one-on-one way. So when we're talking about who we are and we're building these relationships, don't bring cynicism, sarcasm, negativity, because that doesn't make you unique. It makes you like everybody else. And every television show and every news report and the people, most human beings project that and convey that because it makes them feel more safe and secure. But it's not what resonates and attracts people to us. So as we're building our unique identity, we have to be thinking of these characteristics and demonstrating them and unleashing them and awakening them inside of us and functioning within them, because that's what draws people.
Absolutely. So as you said, you are all of the hero characteristics.
Absolutely.
And how do I deliver this? Through stories.
Yeah. So yeah, perfect. So we're not going to walk up to people and go, hey, I'm transcendent. Right? Greg says that occasionally.
That might get an interesting reaction.
Very interesting reaction, right? So we're going to tell stories, though. So remember, you're like, wait a minute, I'm so lost. What the heck are you talking about? Just remember where we are. We're at step 3. We've built emotional rapport and have a deep connection. We've clarified yes and pain strategy. And now we're conveying our unique identity into their pain strategy as a solution. So ready? Let's go back to the attorney doctor example. You're out there and attorney's like, I need that person I just described, cares, connects with patients. Here's all that. You've clarified it all. And then the transition from step 2 to step 3 is, so listen, Greg, I heard a lot about your practice and everything. That it sounds amazing, your pain points, things that really mean something to you. Would it be okay if I took a couple minutes and shared a little bit about myself?
Yes, please.
Okay. Usually you're not going to have to say that, because by the time they're done talking, they feel so connected to you. They're like, so, hey, tell me about you. And it happens like 90% of the time. So let's say you get there and be like, so Greg, what I'm hearing you say is, this is a great step 2 ending, is clarifying and say, what I'm hearing you say is you want to refer to doctors like this, right? Let's say I'm a doctor now and you're an attorney, and you clarify it, right? And then they go, yeah, absolutely. So may I share a little bit about my background? Boom. And you go, so listen, here's why I went into medicine. I went into medicine because my father was blind. And I was a kid that when I was on the ball field in Jersey City growing up, I couldn't have a catch with my father. And it was incredibly painful and incredibly difficult. And it was a time when there weren't disability benefits. And my father had to hide his blindness from everybody he worked with because he was petrified that they would fire him if they found out. And so he wasn't completely blind, just legally blind. And he had friends at the office help him to do some of the paperwork at public service. And he would take some of the things home at night and have my mother look at them. And, over time, as I grew up, I dreamed of being a person who would find the cure to his eye disease. And so my entire life, though, because I came from Jersey City, wouldn't have any money, I had to just kind of work harder than everybody else. And then sometimes when I couldn't work harder, I had to work smarter, because there's kids that just had better memories than me and some things in medical school. And I had to figure out a way to essentially reinvent a process of getting to a residency program, because I just wasn't going to, the grades I was going to produce, no matter how hard I worked, they just weren't going to be quite good enough. And so you know what I did over one summer, I dissected 1,000 eyeballs, and I figured out the next step in the process of curing my father's eye disease. And that brought me to the #1 residency in the country. And when I got there, that teacher said to me, the guy running the residency said, you don't belong here. These other guys are from Harvard, from Johns Hopkins. You don't belong here. And I worked harder than everybody else there too. And I cared more. And I was in a mission. I graduated #1 in my class, #1 in my residency. And so when I started practicing, every single patient that I saw my father in. And whether they were going blind or they were just afraid that maybe there's a problem that could lead them to going blind, right? I'm a retina specialist, right? So I'm not getting direct referrals. I'm getting referrals at that level. Everyone that came in got treated like they were my father. So I'm going to stop there. By the way, that story is the story of my Uncle Jimmy, who was a retina surgeon. That's why he went into it, because my grandfather had the same eye condition I do. But the energy in this room is palpable. The energy of you listening, I am sure, is quite palpable as well. Because if you look through the list of the heroic, unique identity characteristics, I'm going to bet you I hit at least 15 of them if there's 20 on the paper. And by the way, I didn't even plan to tell that story. Honest to God, had no plan to tell that. Just in flow and energy, and it happened. And if you're like, whoa, you should be like, whoa, because that's the power of this. And you go, I don't have a story like that. I bet you have some pretty amazing stories, though. And for all of us, we've been through a lot. We've overcome a lot. We've faced a lot. And having unique identity stories that you can share with people to help talk about overcoming things is incredible. And then sometimes shrinking it down a little bit. So if people talk to me now, I always reassess my unique identity. One of the first things I say is, listen, I'm one of only 2 lawyers in America with 2 top 100 jury verdicts in the past 3 years. And oh, by the way, I'm legally blind. That sentence says inferentially for people a dozen hero characteristics. Mm-hmm. Right?
Absolutely.
Yes? Right?
Yep.
And so we're going to keep moving because it's only an introduction. You got to write stories down and think of stories. This is part of your assignment, and bring them to Edison and practice them. Because I'm telling you, I could talk to anybody in 5 minutes, have them go, in 2 minutes, have them go, excuse my language, holy shit, that guy is different. And we're all different. And so are you. But the question is, how skilled are you at showing how special and different you are? Right? We're all special and different. We all have this inside. But how skilled are you at writing your stories and delivering it to other people? And that's what could be separating you from having everything you want in your practice or not. You could have people like you, already have some rapport, but maybe not quite understand how special and unique you are. And awakening that inside of us through our storytelling, understanding what our heroic, unique identity characteristics are, is an indispensable part of influence mastery. If people were to describe me here, and I am far from perfect, right? And they would have, certainly some list of things that I don't do perfectly, and it would be a long list, but they're going to tell you that I have passion, integrity, energy, humor. I don't take myself that seriously, although I take our outcomes and our goals seriously. I care tremendously about other people. I have fun. I solve problems. I take on challenges. I'm hyper crazy competitive, but with integrity. Those are things I think people would say here. Is that fair, Greg?
Sure.
Right?
Absolutely.
And so, and by the way, I show people that on purpose, and at a certain time frame, I didn't. I've worked even harder. We have 110 people here, getting to know people, getting to know them personally, connecting with people, right? These are all heroic, unique identity characteristics. So develop your heroic, unique identity, practice these first 3 steps, and deliver it based on stories. And if you're a little confused, tie those stories to why you do what you do and who you are, and then fit them into, with integrity, the things people want to hear. For example, though, let's say that I list somebody's yes strategy, and they did something really bad, and they're like, listen, I want a person who's going to lie, say whatever I want to say, and help me cover this up. Well, I'm going to know real quickly I'm the wrong person, and I'm not doing that, right? So I would be out of that. But let's say that conversely, they go, I did something really bad, I made a huge mistake, and I got a big problem, and I really need help understanding how to fix this and make it right as I can. And I want to do it with absolute integrity, but I want to see if there's a way I can get the most reasonable outcome for what's happened. I don't do criminal, but let's say it's an insurance fraud case or something. And so then we got to sit back and say, all right, well, let me explain to you why I'm that person, because you have integrity. When I started becoming an attorney, I thought about championing right and justice. And sometimes when people do things wrong, the other side tries to take advantage of it and destroy their life. And I don't think you deserve to have your life destroyed. I think there's penalties for what you did. I think we got to deal with it. But you're having a financial problem. We have to be clear about that, right? So and here's what I did, and here's what I did, and here's what I did. I give them some examples of situations like that I dealt with, but also sharing my philosophy. That would be how I would convey my unique identity as an example in that situation. So you want to be thinking about the types of outcomes you want to create, and building examples of how your unique identity can be conveyed to solve that for people. So if it's lawyers, how are you going to talk to lawyers? If you want to recruit people into your practice, doctors, what's your unique identity for why they should want to work with you? Do you care about their growth? Do you care about their fulfillment? Do you care about their future? And how can you share things genuinely in your history, your past, that would show them that you truly want to do that through telling stories and conveying your unique identity, right? This section alone, we could talk about for 10 hours. This is an introduction. So the assignment between now and Edison is to write down your heroic, unique identity, tell these stories, circling or encapsulating some of those characteristics that we talked about without saying the words. I didn't say one word of heroic, unique identity description. I talked about a story that said those things. I told the story of my uncle saying those things. Cool. All right. Next.
So tie the heroic, unique identities for you and your practice into your yes strategy.
Okay. So this is step 4, and we are like super over. So I'm going to just say this. We're going to pick up with step 4 at our next event, other than the next 90 seconds. So, and we'll talk about this more at Edison. So this is where people would say is closing. We don't say closing because closing is an inherently manipulative word to me. It doesn't feel good. I don't want to be closed. You don't want to be closed. So when we're talking about creating an energized agreement, this is the final component where we're finally moving forward and want to move forward on. If it's getting a referral, if it's coming to work for my practice, if it's giving me a chance to, operate on, your mom, whatever that is that we're trying to do, here's where we're moving forward with the agreement. So in this stage is basically after we've conveyed our unique identity, where we're going to ask people. So what I'd like to do now is really move forward and say, hopefully hey, Greg, have I shown you, this would be a great, question. Have I shown you, how I think we can solve some of those problems and challenges? So it's a test question I'm asking Greg. And I'm going to look at Greg's body language, tone, and words to see if Greg feels good about what's going on. And so I say, hey, Greg, so I've shared with you, how we do things, in terms of our practice. Do you think that would meet your needs for your law firm?
Yes, I do, very much.
Yeah, boom, totally congruent, right?
Right.
So that's great. And even so, I'd say, so listen, this is the secondary question, right? I hear you. Are there any things that we haven't talked about, honestly, that are even the tiniest concern that you would have in terms of referring patients to your clients to me as patients?
I think I'm good. I think you pretty much put my mind at ease.
Awesome. Anything, the slightest thing. And what I'm doing is, right, when I can have Greg's answer, thank you, Greg. Right. What we're doing is we're making sure there are no unvoiced objections. Right. You have to deal with objections. And the way you collapse objections is through questioning.
Right.
You collapse objections through questioning. We work on that more in Edison. Okay. And how we do that, but that is how you get people to move forward and say yes. And there's more to this. This, again, agreement formation we could talk about for 4 hours. This is a quick piece, but we've given you enough to move from hello to yes at the end. So what else we got here? Let's just flip on through.
So just form an energized agreement, moving into the use of close-ended.
Yep.
Right.
Good. Yeah, this is where we're using closed-ended questions. Yes or no, ready to go. Yep. Good.
And then we just have what do we need to form an energized agreement? We have clarity, confront and voice and unvoiced objections, like you just said. Questions break down objections because they're emotional, not logical, usually. Right?
Absolutely, yeah.
And then confirmation.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you want to always be confirming with people their decision. You don't just want yes. You want to do unvoiced objections, confirm it, and then confirm it the next day. Hey, great doing business. Great that we're going to get stuff started with specific deadlines.
Right. Okay. And then the time objection. Let me think about it.
Yeah, we'll deal with that in. We're going to deal with that in Edison. Time objection is the most significant objection that we get. We will deal with that in Edison.
Right. And are you up for deliberate egoless practice?
Yeah, dude, you have to practice and you have to be egoless. So you have to get feedback. You have to look at what's your opportunity for growth. What's your opportunity for growth? Not to look at, I'm doing this, right? It's always what's my opportunity for growth, egolessly.
Absolutely, right.
And by the way, if you have feedback for us in the webinars, send it. Send it to Tiffany. How can we make this better for you? How can we make it a better experience? How could we illustrate these points better? If you have any ideas, we want to make this absolutely fantastic for you to learn, be inspired, be connected to. So we want your feedback. How do we make this better? And what do you like about it? Right. We care about those both.
And we have the map.
The map is, listen, real quickly, yes. So this is our 30-second commercial. We help you recover money and revenue. Let us come in and review your stuff. It's like a treasure map. Sometimes you have no idea how to get there, but once we give you the map from point A to the treasure, which we do absolutely for free, that's how you find the gold. And you have tons. We believe that we're in a war to get providers reimbursed from carriers. It is a war. There's a multi-billion, probably trillion-dollar industry out there that's attempting to take premiums in and pay out less. That's the business that they're in. And we're here to battle against that. But you got to figure out how to get there from start all the way to the treasure map. And it's all these skill sets that are involved. And we bring that to the table for you in helping you find the money that is available, which you would have to, in my opinion, be literally insane not to let us come in and look at and review it. If you go, hey, I refer, PIP cases to personal injury attorneys that give me referrals, then that's, first of all, if it's a tit for tat relationship, it's illegal. Second of all, there's the time value of money is utterly tremendous. And we file incredible amounts of PIP arbitrations, and we're told that we file more than anybody else in the state. And we haven't done personal injury up until now. Now we're launching personal injury. So we're happy to build relationships. We want great doctors to work with, but we've been number one before that. So obviously people are seeing the value of collecting their money, but we also do it in workers' compensation and commercial insurance. Let us come in and do a 6-year review. It obligates you to do nothing. Let us come in and look at it and find you your money. Right. Call today, 201-261-1700, and you can ask for Greg.
Absolutely. Yeah. So don't miss out, everybody. I mean, reserve your spot for live session 1B, February 13th, next Tuesday in Edison at the Crowne Plaza. Build relationships, learn how to build a practice of your dreams, all for free.
Yep. And just let Tiffany know. Call up 201-261-1700. There's a variety of different ways to click in and register. Yep. But please understand this. We know what we're talking about. We have a 110-person law firm. We've recovered $50 million for underpaid and unpaid claims. We fill rooms up with people that are coming. We know how to market, sell, build relationships, share, influence, have tremendous energy. And these are things that we want to share with you. We want to help, inspire you to do. And we're not thinking we're above anybody because we're not perfect, but we're constantly learning, and we constantly want to be passing on the learning and the information that we're gathering. And just let us come in and collect your money. I mean, it's a home run for you. Compare and contrast. And if you don't think that we crush it and do a better job than other people, then tell people we're a liar. We want that opportunity to show you that we are the right decision. Please give us that opportunity.
Absolutely. So thank you. And let's turn your dreams into realities.
Yeah.
Let's make it happen.
Let's go, baby. So everybody have a great night. We're signing off from Practice Mastery. Thank you for being with us, or a great morning if you're listening to in the morning. Have an awesome, awesome week until we meet in Edison on February 13th at the Crowne Plaza. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.